Now, if you're one of many people who are concerned about the state of Ezreal in the current meta, with a win rate of 46.47%, maybe you're going to be like me and try to find variations of Ezreal that would work. And for me, the one variation that I tried that actually worked out of the many variations that I've tried is an Ezreal build based off of playing like an ADC. And what that means is you're going to use your auto attacks. Your Q is going to be there, but it's mostly going to be there to, one, reduce the cooldown of your E, because your E is going to be really important. To 2, to trigger your W to do bonus damage. 3, just to poke by itself and apply, like Sheen damage or Trinity Force damage. 4, to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate. And 5, to CS. So, you have your auto attacks. That's you as an ADC. How do you build Ezreal around that? And there's a couple things I want to focus on. And that is, the first thing I want to focus on is why his win rate so low. And I think that is because of his first item being built, being the Manamune. The Manamune is a terrible item. It has a 47.83% win rate on Ezreal as a first item, and a 47.69% win rate overall in every single Ezreal game. So people who are picking it, which is a 98.6% of people, are building an item that has less than 48% chance of victory. First. They're building it first. And that item sucks. Like, it really just sucks. The build path sucks. The item itself sucks until very late game or mid game when you already are in a losing position. Is that what you want to do? You want to wait for your item until you're 0 and 7 to have an item that's good, or what? Like, come on. Don't be like that. If you take a look at the item win rates on any sort of database that records statistics, the lower win percentage items are Manamune and Iceborne Gauntlet. Any item, or Trinity Force. Those are the primary items that are built as a first item, and they're all less than 50%. Significantly so is the Iceborne Gauntlet. Don't build that first item. Any other item recorded as data doesn't have enough pick rate to actually have a reliable win rate. So all of those items don't work as a first item. Where do you get a build as a first item on Ezreal? And my solution is to build an Essence Reaver as a first item, and I'll get to that reasoning later. But for now, I want to talk a little bit more about the statistics of the items being built on Ezreal, and what are good items and what are bad items, statistically speaking, based on pick rate and win rate. And items with higher pick rates and lower win rates seem to be really bad. Items with lower pick rates and higher win rates may not be good replacements because they may be late game items, such as Lord Dominic's Regards or Guardian Angel. Those are all really good items on Ezreal, but you don't want to build them first item. You don't want to build them early. They don't really synergize with other things that well. They're just kind of complementary to your core build, whatever that may be. So there are two items that stick out that have high pick rates and high win rates, and those are Blade of the Ruined King and Trinity Force. Okay, so those are the two items that you want to take early because they have high win percentages and high pick percentages. Manamune and Iceborne Gauntlet don't. So try to avoid those items if you can. Now, the other thing is Blade of the Ruined King. Why is it so good on Ezreal? Like, it has a 55% win rate and a 42% pick rate. The pick rate's so high because you get it pretty early on. It's typically the first item built after people buy Iceborne Gauntlet and the Manamune. They go right into the Blade of the Ruined King. So the pick percent is pretty high because that's the first item being built. Why is the win percent so high? Well, because when they're doing a build like that, they typically win near after buying Blade of the Ruined King. Once you get your Blade of the Ruined King, your Manamune is going to trigger, okay? It's going to turn into the Muramana, and at that point you have a strong advantage in the case to win the game. But prior to that, you're going to be weak. So you have to wait until a 3-item power spike. The Blade of the Rune King, the Muramana, and your Iceborne Gauntlet / Trinity Force, and your boots, obviously, in order to like win the game. Or even not just win the game, but like start playing for reals and taking objectives and, you know, that kind of thing. So at that point, you get a high win percent with the Blade of the Rune King. That's not to say Blade of the Rune King is going to be such a good item in other item sets, but it's still clearly, statistically speaking, really good on Ezreal, because it is an early item. You do get it 3rd item, and there's a lot of champions who get it 1st item. So by itself, it's a very strong item. Does lifesteal, attack speed, damage. Has a really good active. Does damage based on max health, so it's strong. It's one of Ezreal's weaknesses. If you take a look at his E, his W, his Q, and his R, you can combine all 4 of those and kill any squishy, pretty much, with like an auto attack or 2, possibly. You start dealing with people who are getting a little bit tankier, like an Aatrox or something, you're going to want to get a Blade of the Rune King so you can actually do some damage to him. The other thing is, you get the Blade of the Rune King, it does damage based on max health. So when they're full health and you're poking them, you're doing a lot of damage. When you're trying to finish them off, it's going to be a lot harder. The thing about Ezreal is, since he tries to play really safe, really what he's doing is he's doing a lot of damage while his teammates are picking up the kills. So when you're building Blade of the Rune King, that's the sort of playstyle you're emphasizing. You're emphasizing a playstyle where you're doing a lot of damage, but you're not getting the kills. You're probably going to have a lot more assists than you are kills when you start building things like Blade of the Rune King. You could avoid building Blade of the Rune King altogether, but I don't recommend it because it is a good item, and it is a way to get lifesteal on Ezreal that you wouldn't otherwise get unless you're running Legend, Bloodline, which I also do not necessarily recommend as a primary form because Alacrity is so good. Anyway, enough rambling. I'm going to talk about what you want to do on Ezreal to maximize your damage. There are 3 ways to maximize your damage when you're building items. One is cooldown reduction. The reason cooldown reduction is so important is because it reduces the cooldown of Ezreal's Q. Ezreal's Q is his, well, people typically play it as his primary form of dealing damage in the first place because it outranges auto attacks. You use it to CS, so you don't want it off cooldown because you use it to CS. So getting cooldown reduction helps in that regard. It also is good when it's reduced because when you land your Q, it reduces the cooldown of your other abilities. And he is a very ability-centric champion. So the more cooldown reduction you have, not only does it reduce the cooldown of your W, E, R, and Q all separately, but because it reduces the cooldown of your Q, and your Q reduces the cooldown of your Q, your W, your E, and your R, you're getting a lot of value from building cooldown reduction. Now, this is something that you don't really see a lot, but if you build AD on Ezreal, what's going to happen is it's going to increase the damage of your auto attacks, like any ADC. You know, Ashe, she's building AD, she's got the Caulfield's Warhammer. ADCs build damage, okay? That's typically how it works. If you build damage on Ezreal, your auto attacks are going to be doing more damage. But what's also going to happen is your Q scales off of 110% of your AD, which is very high. Your W scales off of 60% of your AD. Your E scales off 50% of your AD, and your R scales off 100% of your AD. Now, not to mention your Q scaling off 110% AD being a very, very low cooldown ability when you have 40% CDR. So all of that extra AD on your Q is going to be coming in very frequently. So the more AD you have, the more damage you're going to be doing on Ezreal. Okay? Not the more mana you do, the more damage you do on Ezreal. The more AD you build, the more damage you do on Ezreal. I don't know why people don't understand this. And then the other way to maximize your damage on Ezreal is to get attack speed. He already has built-in attack speed when you cast your abilities, but you could build like Berserker's Greaves, for example. This has the highest win percent of all the boots on Ezreal, and people just don't build Berserker's Greaves. Like, it's clearly the best. He's an auto attack champion. He's an ADC. People just don't play him that way. Like, they build in the wrong items and they're playing them wrong. That's why he has a bad win percent. They just reworked him. He's really strong. So they just don't know what to do yet. Attack speed will enhance your auto attacks, and it complements AD spectacularly. The other thing attack speed complements is critical strike chance. If you have low critical strike chance, it's very beneficial to stack attack speed in order to get a crit, at least one crit in, while you're auto attacking. So what we do here is we get the lethal tempo, we get the Berserker's Greaves, we get the Trinity Force. That's 40%, 35%, 75%, and then you got your lethal tempo, which can be up to 110%, starts at 40%. And the final things we do is we get the 10% attack speed runes when you're doing your rune page, and then you also want to go Alacrity for even more attack speed. Okay, the more attack speed you have, the better you are with crit. So when you're building this Essence Reaver, which only has 25% critical strike chance, you want to get the attack speed to complement it. So you want to get it in every form, even Alacrity. That's why I don't mention trying to do Legend Bloodline. Okay, you can even get attack speed from Blade of the Ruined King. You can even get attack speed from doing another crit item out of Zell, which is going to be Static Shiv. By the way, Static Shiv, I'll get to that later, but it's a good item on Ezreal. So with that said, that's how you maximize your damage on Ezreal. Playstyle, how you maximize your damage on Ezreal, you're going to want to auto attack. You have to use your auto attack. So, a little note to take, while you're CSing as Ezreal, what are the minimum requirements to CS on Ezreal? So that you're not missing CS or falling behind. So you're being able to keep up with the enemy ADC or surpass the enemy ADC in terms of CS in the laning phase, or at least not fall so far behind that the enemy has a distinct advantage over you and can just easily all-in you. What you need to do to CS properly is get 25 AD. Now there's a few ways to get 25 AD. You can get more than 25 AD with a BF sword. You could get Caulfield's Warhammer, which is 25 AD. You could get, if you're going for Blade of the Ruined King first item, which I don't know how good that is, but I don't recommend. You could do Longsword and Vampiric Scepter to get 25 AD. The other option is Pickaxe. Pickaxe is the cheapest way to get 25 AD in the game possible, and it builds into Manamune. However, it doesn't build into any good items on Ezreal. Honestly, Pickaxe is not a good item to build because it doesn't build into anything. It builds into Manamune, so people build it, but you don't want to build it alongside Tyr, and that's just a waste. That's not going to help you. What's going to help you is getting that 25 AD from a different source, even though it's going to be more expensive. What else helps with CSing? Mana. If you get a Sapphire Crystal for 350 gold, that's all you need. You don't need to fully upgrade it to the Shane, and you don't need to, if you fully upgrade it to the Shane, it's going to help you CSing if you don't have 25 AD. If you already have 25 AD, upgrading to the Shane isn't going to help you CS. It's just going to help you do more damage. It's just going to help you poke. It's going to give you that cooldown reduction, which can somewhat help you in certain situations, but you're dealing with 0% cooldown reduction versus 10% cooldown reduction, which is not a big deal at the moment, okay? So you don't need the sheen, you just need the crystal, the 350 gold crystal. That'll help you CS, that'll help you poke in lane. Is it absolutely necessary? No. Is it advisable? Yes. Is it better to go Caulfield's Warhammer plus the mana crystal rather than just going BF sword and a couple potions? Probably. Based on my experience, you will only want to go BF sword if you know you can maintain pressure in lane and properly CS. If you're going back and you're farming on a turret and you got a BF sword, that's okay. But it's going to be a little bit better to do, like if you're on the defensive, to do like the extra mana. Or no, I have it backwards. I'm sorry. If you're playing on the defensive, you're going to want to do the BF sword. And if you're being on the offensive, you're going to want the mana. Because if you're being so offensive that you're going to use your E offensively, you're going to start draining your mana. Well, I mean, I guess offensively or defensively, you're going to be using your E. It's just offensively, you typically use your E with your W, and that drains mana even more. So, if you're using a lot of mana because you have to use your E a lot, I would recommend getting the Caulfield's Warhammer plus the what is it called? It's not Ruby, Sapphire Crystal, instead of the BF sword. Now, if you go, that's 1450 gold versus 1300 gold. If you have 1450 gold and you get in the BF sword, you have 150 gold to get either a potion and a control ward, or 2 potions or 3 potions, or even 2 potions and a control ward if you have a little bit more than that, okay? So that's what you're competing with. Which one's going to be better for you is up to you to decide based on the matchup, based on the playstyle, and based on your experience. Now, you should primarily be focusing on CSing. So don't be like, oh man, I got a BF sword, I got to match this other person's BF sword in a 1v1 matchup. No. It's a 2v2 lane, you're going to be CSing, your support's probably going to do a little bit of poking if you have a support, they're going to do some CCing, something's going to help you out. You don't actually need to break even on items. If they have a BF sword and you have a Caulfield's Warhammer, it's okay. Just make sure you have enough mana to CS properly and you're not falling behind in CS. That's it, okay? The other thing you want to do is you want to start out with a Doran's Ring and 2 healing potions. The reason this is better is because 1, you get 2 healing potions. That's going to be really good. It's better than 1 healing potion, clearly, because the 3% lifesteal is kind of irrelevant in terms of comparing it to a healing potion in the early game. And you're obviously comparing it with the mana regen, okay? Doran's Ring is there. It gives you 15 AP. Yeah, who cares? It gives you 5 mana every 5 seconds. What that's going to do is it's going to allow you to not build a tier. It's going to allow you to have that mana regen throughout the entire game. And it's going to be extremely helpful. Like, I guarantee you're going to have much less mana problems when you're going Doran's Ring. And that's a huge deal because that allows you to get more Qs in, both for CSing and for poking, which is vital when you're laning as Ezreal. Because if you're not getting those Qs in, because you're having mana problems, guess what? The enemy ADC Ashe is going to use her W, it's going to push the minion waves, and you're going to be pushed under turret, and you don't want to farm on a turret. You really don't want to farm on a turret, at least until you're prepared. You're going to need at least that 25 AD before you're farming on a turret, okay? So getting that Doran's Ring, that's going to help significantly in that regard. Now, the first items after that, you want to go Berserker's Greaves, and you can finish the Sheen. The Sheen is going to help you PvP, and the Berserker's Greaves is going to help you PvP. Those are really good items for PvP. These are like the non-CSing. If you can build a dagger towards your boots, which is going to help you CSing that 12%. But once you fully upgrade your boots, that's going to give you the movement speed for offensive and defensive purposes, and like for dodging, for moving forward in lane, for retreating from a jungle gank if you're overextended, to chasing. When you activate your lethal tempo, you want to get auto attack after auto attack after auto attack. Upgrading your Berserker's Greaves is going to help significantly in that regard. And then you have Sheen. That's going to help obviously with your Q poke. Once you get the Sheen, you want to get those Q pokes in. Really effective. And that's the early game. Okay, it's so much better than going back and buying a tier. You don't want to go back and buy a tier. And then it's going to transition to the mid game so much smoother too. And you don't have to sit there and wait. You don't have to wait like, hey guys, can you just like wait 5 minutes before we start like team fighting for dragon? It's like, well, the enemy's on dragon right now. It's like, yeah, but like my tier's not charged. It's like, yeah, but we need to fight for the dragon right now. Otherwise, they're gonna get the dragon, and they're gonna have a permanent advantage. And then, the enemy could just keep pushing their advantage. The longer you wait for your power spike. So the earlier you get that power spike, the more you can get that advantage. Start pressing your advantage, and then build that into even more of a power spike. And even if you're staying even the whole game, you're not falling behind, and that's good. That makes for better solo queue experience. So the first things you want to build are Essence Reaver. This is going to give you the cooldown reduction like I was talking about, which is really useful for Ezreal, and it's going to give you the AD, which is really useful for Ezreal, but it's also going to give you mana regen. This mana regen is going to make up for not buying the mana money. It's going to give you 1.5% of your missing mana, okay? That's a lot. It's going to trigger every time you hit your Q, and every time you auto attack, because your Q applies the passive of the Essence Reaver. It's gonna proc it and give you mana back when you use your Q. And since your Q uses such little mana, you may even be gaining mana. Actually, I don't know. I would have to do the math, but you get 1.5% back. So even if you don't gain mana when you use your Q, it makes it so your Qs are really, really, really cheap, because they're already cheap. In addition to all of this, it gives you 25% critical strike chance, and this is something that you gotta work around with this. You don't have to build your kit around this 25% critical strike chance, but usually it's a good idea, which is why I recommend the lethal tempo, the alacrity, the 10% attack speed on your runes, the Berserker's Greaves, the Trinity Force, and even the Blade of the Ruined King for all this attack speed to synergize with this 25% critical strike chance. So once you got your Essence Reaver, you have a few choices to make. You could try to upgrade your Sheen. You don't need to upgrade your Sheen. You can actually hold on the Sheen, because you're going to be at 40% cooldown reduction with your runes. That's the strategy. You get your Transcendence once you're level 10, so you could sit on the Sheen with your Essence Reaver, and you're at 40% cooldown reduction. If you build more cooldown reduction by upgrading to the Trinity Force, it's just going to give you bonus AD. That's a good thing. More AD. This would be from 25 to 37 because of it. That's actually pretty cool. However, if you're running Transcendence, you have the ability to sit on the Sheen instead. So you don't have to build Trinity Force after your Essence Reaver. That's because that's a lot of money for 40%. That's 3,300, 37. That's 7,000 versus 3,300 in Sheen. 1,000. That's 4,500. That allows you to get like an entire item. It's like, that saves you 3,000 gold or 2,500 gold, 2,600 gold. That's actually like a lot. If you had 2,600 gold, what would you buy? You could buy 2 BF swords with that. You could buy a BF sword and crit. You could buy BF sword and crit with Cloak of Agility and something else, something toward Blade of the Ruined King. You could build the 1,600 item on Blade of the Ruined King plus the 1,000 item on Blade of the Ruined King. So you can get both the Recurve Bow and the Bilgewater Cutlass instead of having to upgrade to the Trinity Force. Other things you could be working toward is the Iceborne Gauntlet, but you probably don't want to do the Iceborne Gauntlet because it's not that good of an item on Ezreal. You only want to get it if the movement speed reduction with the slows are actually going to be useful on Ezreal. Otherwise you're just kind of spending money on a defensive item because it's not really giving you offense. It doesn't do more damage than Sheen. All it is mana and armor and the slow. Those are all very defensive things, so you only want to build it if the slow is necessary. If you're against someone like a Tryndamere, it's a good idea to get it. If you're against someone like Master E, it might be a good idea to get it, but you gotta keep in mind the armor isn't gonna be super effective versus the Master E because he does do true damage and he is running Conqueror, which also does true damage. So you probably don't want to do it versus the Master E. Even if the Master E gets super fed, actually especially if the Master E gets super fed, you don't want to be building defensively because you're not gonna be able to kill him. If someone is super fed, you want to be able to kill that super fed person. That's the goal. You don't want to be able to run away and survive the super fed person. That's not going to work. You need to kill a super fed person if you're going to win the game. So if Master E's going around, he's got Blade of the Rune King, he's got Ginsu's Rage Blade, what are you going to do? You want to deal damage. You want to kill him. You want to make sure that he jumps on your teammate, and that as soon as he comes down, you got your WQ locked on, maybe like a WEQ, auto attack, and you're trying to get him down before he uses his meditate, and you want to kill the Mastery. You don't want to build Iceborne Gauntlet and be like, oh man, jump on me, and then like miss all your abilities because he's point blank or something like that. Like, you just don't want to deal with it, okay? So you got the Infinity Edge, which is a really good item to go. You got the Trinity Force, which is a really good item to go, and you got the Blade of the Rune King, which is a really good item to go. Those are typically the three like main items you want to be building after you get your Essence Reaver. Once you build one out of those three, you could either build another one out of those three, and then another one out of those three. You could just build back to back all of those items, or you could transition into different items. In fact, you don't even have to build the full Infinity Edge. You can just build the Cloak of Agility for the 45% critical strike chance, so you're not sitting at 25% if you really want to do that. And only spend 800 gold, so you can, I don't know, work on something else. Maybe you want your Blade of the Rune King, so you go Cloak of Agility, Blade of the Rune King. You could do Last Whisper if you need armor penetration. Maybe the enemy Malphite is like, instead of going AP, is 10-0 and 1 right now, and he's got Sunfire Cape, he's got Thorn Mail. Go ahead and get the Last Whisper, right? You can go Hex Drinker. Let's say Diana got really fed, she's got her Spellbinder. Hex Drinker might be really good. You could do, what do you call it? What's it called? QSS. You can go Quicksilver Sash. Maybe they got Morgana, Lux, Zoe. It's not the best item on Ezreal because Ezreal can typically dodge the CC with his E, but it still might be necessary to build it. So you could build that. You just sit on the Sheen instead of upgrading it. Build the QSS. Get it nice and early whenever you need it. Whatever. You could build a stopwatch. That's 600 gold. The stopwatch can be built into either a Guardian Angel, which is good because you can get a BF sword, which is obviously going to be really good. And you get you can go Zonya's Hourglass, which is not really that good. Probably don't recommend just because the build path and the stats aren't going to be super effective with this auto attack centric build. But maybe there are certain situations where you are going to want the Zonyas just for the effect of it, just to be able to use it in order to block a bunch of damage. Maybe Zedall or something like that. I don't even know. There's probably some situation out there where Zonyas is going to be really good. You could get Executioner's Calling for 800 gold. That's going to be giving you grievous wounds. You might want that in certain situations. And then finally, you could start upgrading those items. If you're going Hex Drinker or if you're going QSS, those upgrade into really good magic resist items. Mama Mortius and Mercurial Scimitar. Those are both really good items. If you're going Stopwatch into Guardian Angel, that's going to give you armor. If you're going Iceborne Gauntlet, that's going to give you more armor. Maybe you want to stack armor, maybe you want to stack magic resist. You have those options as Ezreal with this build. Maybe you want to stack crit, and you want, after the Infinity Edge, you want to be working for Static Shiv, because the Static Shiv does damage up to 5 targets, and that damage can crit, okay? Not only can that damage crit, but Ezreal's Q can apply that damage, so Ezreal's Q can apply that damage as a crit as well, so you can actually crit with your Q 5 people, just with one little Q. That's what Ezreal can do. You can go Rapid Fire Cannon instead if you're wanting to get extra damage versus turrets, and then max your W instead of your E. That's a possibility in order to just do maximum damage versus turrets. Maybe there's a strategy you want to do it like that. In the mid game, you have so much flexibility that you really need to just figure out what you need the most and why. And then once you get your needs met, you got to be focusing on what is going to fuel the fire that you have. What is going to complement your items and make them even stronger offensively. Once you get into late game, you have the option to upgrade your items that you're building in the mid game, right? Upgrade the Last Whisper and the Lord Dominic's Regard. Another option is going Black Cleaver. You are running Transcendence, so that 20% cooldown reduction will be converted into AD plus 24, so it'll be 64 AD, 400 health, armor shredding. If you went Iceborne Gauntlet, you're going to benefit from the rage effect from the phage being built from it. And it's only 3,000 gold. That's really good if you want to not be super squishy. It's really good if you want extra armor pen. The build path for that item's not very good, but it's okay. When you're running Transcendence, you're spending 800 gold for the health and the cooldown reduction, which is going to be AD, so it's actually not that bad. And the phage, the problem is the phage isn't that good. Like, it's good when you don't have the Trinity Force, but when you do have the Trinity Force, it's redundant. It's kind of expensive. So if you go for the Black Cleaver, you probably want to buy it all in one go for 3,000 gold, which can happen easily from snowballing. And it's a really good item to complement everything else going on in your kit. Okay? You could do, if you want lifesteal, you can do Bloodthirster. You could do, Blade the Rune King. If you didn't finish the Blade the Rune King, you got your Blade the Rune King. You could do Hextech Gunblade. Hextech Gunblade's pretty good. If you want your magic resist, you got Mercurial Scimitar, Mama Mortis. If you want armor, you got Guardian Angel, Zonny's Hourglass, Iceborne Gauntlet. If you want crit, you got your Infinite Edge and Static Shift. You pretty much won't go more than 75% crit because you're going to be max item. Probably don't want to build 100% crit like I was this game. This doesn't happen. This was like a hardcore snowball game. I even had more kills than the duration of the game. So you got to keep in mind when you're building all of those items, 100% crit, what is the benefit? If you have a bunch of attack speed, you don't need that much crit. 50% crit is even fine. 75% helps a lot, but that's only if you're ahead. 100% crit is completely redundant. Just go ahead and buy lifesteal. Just go ahead and buy stopwatch. Buy something that's actually useful, could save your life, and prevent a shutdown, or prevent you from losing the game, or come back. It's just so much more important than trying to get 100% crit. It's just this game, I spent 2,400 gold on 2 Zells. I could have spent the 2,400 gold on something smarter. I could have spent it on lifesteal. I could have spent it on stopwatch. I could have spent it on armor pen. Even though they didn't have armor, I could have still spent it on armor pen. I could have spent it on QSS in case I get ulted by Ashe. All kinds of different smarter things I could have spent it on. I was just winning so hard that I didn't have to. And I wanted to do this because I've never done it before. Okay. So let's talk about the runes. You got your lethal tempo. Obviously, we already decided when you got your 25% crit chance, the lethal tempo is gonna actually accentuate that as a stat and make the Essence Reaver feel really good as a first item. You get your Presence of Mind. This is pretty important because it gives you a lot of mana back, like a lot of mana back. If you take a look at Mana Flow Band, 250 mana, total mana restored, 391. Lethal tempo, or sorry, not lethal, presence of mind, 4,864. Way more, over 10 times, over 12 times more. Well, maybe even more than 13 times more mana back. And it also reduces the cooldown of your ultimate. Look, 162 seconds. Your ultimate's going to be reduced by your Q. Your ultimate's going to be reduced by presence of mind. Your ultimate's going to be off cooldown a lot. It's really good. It's a really good spell because it does AoE damage. The rest of his spells, his Q, his W, and his E, they do single target damage. So his R is pretty fucking useful if somebody's either blocking you from hitting a QWE, or you just want to hit multiple people because it's a team fight. And you're like, hey, might as well. It's a 5v5, I want to hit 4 people, blah blah blah. You got Legend Alacrity, which I was already explaining why it's so good. It complements the critical strike chance much better than a Legend Bloodline would. Legend Bloodline doesn't help you with your critical strike chance, right? It's just going to help you defensively. That's not what we're working toward. If we're trying to play defensively, we could just build it with our items, because there's so many item choices for defensive. If you want lifesteal, just build it. You've got options. You've got Play the Rune King, you've got Bloodthirster, you've got Hextech Gunblade. Just get that Alacrity. It's going to help you. Trust me. Cut Down is the best one in this tier. You could do, what is it called? Coup de grace, but you probably don't want to, because Cut Down is so good. Even this game, when I was way ahead, I even got 237 damage from this. That's very low for Cut Down. Typically it's much higher. And the reason it's low is because I was a higher level, so I had more max health than my enemy. I think one champion had more max health than me. That was Master E, because he built Giant Spell. And he wasn't super far behind. And then, okay, we talked about Transcendence, why it's so good. So I'm going to move on from that. Monofloat Band, why is this so good? Why not go Gathering Storm? Why not go Scorch? Why not go Water Walking? Why not go Nullifying Orb? Why not go Nimbus Cloak? Alright, it's obvious why you don't go Nimbus Cloak. Why Monofloat Band? Well, it's going to give you bonus max mana. That's actually really important when you're... if you don't have this, it might actually be more essential to go Iceborne Gauntlet, honestly. And Iceborne Gauntlet kind of sucks. So, you get your Monofloat Band, it boosts your max mana by 250. Yeah, the mana regen's only 391. Very bad. You don't need the mana regen. You got your Presence of Mind, you got your Doran's Ring, and you got your Essence Reaver for mana regen. Okay, you just need max mana to go with all that, to complement all that mana regen. And that's what the Monofloat Band's for, and that's what the Sheen is for. So it's plus 500 right there. You don't need more than that. And you probably want Magic Resist. You don't need Magic Resist, but typically want to go Magic Resist with your final rune instead of armor. A lot of people do armor just because, you know, you're fighting ADCs and stuff. And the armor is good level 1, but as the game progresses, the Magic Resist is going to be a lot more effective. And the Magic Resist obviously isn't bad level 1. So... If you're comparing this version of Ezreal to other versions of Ezreal, like AP Ezreal, what's the weakness of AP Ezreal is not an ADC. Your team typically revolves around needing an ADC. An ADC is a champion who could do targeted damage, like pretty much point and click damage, right? No skill shots, with their auto attacks at a rapid pace. So typically with a high attack speed. That allows you to have consistent, sustained damage coming in constantly, okay? Constantly. There's no like, oh man, I gotta wait for my cooldowns. There's none of that. It's just damage, okay? That's why an ADC is important. If you can't auto attack with AP Ezreal because your auto attacks don't do any damage, and you don't build attack speed with AP Ezreal, you're not an ADC. You're just playing a mid-champ bot lane. That's what you're doing, okay? The other problem with that is you can't CS well. The more AD you have, the easier it is to CS, because you can last hit significantly easier. Obviously, attack speed complements the AT as well. Attack speed doesn't really complement AP that well. So, And the other problem is you don't sustain really well with the AP Ezreal. You're gonna be more fragile. You're not gonna be able to, like life steal your way out of a situation. You're not gonna be able to kite as effectively defensively. You're gonna be more of like a glass cannon. And the Manamune build, the reason it's so bad is because it has a weak early game and it's hard to CS. So the weak early game transitions into a mid game where you're behind and transitions into a late game where you're behind. Probably behind late game. If you didn't make up for it with a comeback. And it is hard to CS. When you're building a tier, you're not building any damage, you're not building any attack speed. All you're building is mana, and you're building too much mana. You don't need that much mana. So why are you doing it? Why are you hurting your early game? Why are you handicapping yourself? I don't get it. Now, the item pathing for these different things affects the early game. You got your tier, your pickaxe, and your sheen for the mana money, right? Those are the things you want to buy. That's not going to help you that much. Item pathing for something like this, you got your BF sword, you got your sheen, you got your Zerka's greaves. Those are all really good. Like, significantly better than the tier pickaxe sheen. Both in PvP and for CSing. And then with AP, you got your Lost Chapter, your Sheen, and your Sorcerers. Those aren't going to give you ability to last hit very well, except with your Sheen. You're kind of forced to work around your Sheen while CSing. And this is actually not that good in a 2v2 situation. In a 1v1 situation, mid lane, I don't mind going AP Ezreal just because you can play around last hitting with your Sheen a little bit easier. Especially considering that the enemy is probably going to be AP and struggling to CS themselves without using their abilities. On the other hand, if they're an AP, like a Nivea or something, you just like shove the wave, and then you're forced to CS under a tower. If you're CSing under a tower with a Shane only, you don't have the AD to make up for it, you're going to be in bad shape. So, with all that said, let's take a look at this game. This was a very fun game playing. It's probably going to be pretty entertaining to watch. So if you're doing something off meta, the dangers you have are tilting your teammates, right? When you do something like this, it doesn't just affect yourself, it affects everybody in the game. Your teammates are going to be like, what are you doing? However, something like this isn't going to freak too many people out because, like, okay, Ezreal with lethal tumble, they can kind of wrap their mind around it. Like, okay, you're an ADC, right? But, some people are going to be like, oh, wow, dude, you're supposed to go Klepto. Oh, wow, dude, you're supposed to go Doran's Blade. If you're doing both lethal tempo and Doran's Ring, people are going to be freaking the fuck out. Guess who freaked the fuck out this game is Fiora. I bought the Doran's Ring, and she's all pinging it, right? So I'm a little bit AFK right now, but it's okay. My team is all waiting for me. At some point, my Doran's Ring gets pinged. I think it's soon after I buy it. I don't remember. It's either that or right around here. I don't know if it'll show up in spectating mode. But she pinged me. Pause. Okay, at this point, your team's without you. We have vision here. Well, we will have vision here. We don't have vision here yet. But at this point, your team's behind you. What are you going to do? Are you going to try to follow them? Or are you going to try to move up here? Those are your two options. When you're in this situation, it's going to be a little more difficult to follow around this way. So I went ahead and made the decision to try to participate in the fight rather than participate late in the fight. So I'm right here. I see the Ashe. We got vision on the Ashe. I'm going to Q her. She was standing still here, and this is where I Q'd. However, she moved this way toward my team. Okay. And then I missed my Q because of it. Like, why would she go toward my team? She flashes. Nunu flashes. She gets pulled. I missed my Q again because now she's going this way. I figured, okay, she went toward my team once, she's gonna go toward my team again. No, whatever. Doesn't matter. I have lethal tempo. I get her down with my auto attacks. Wow, he smote. Ashe teleported in. Big mistake. Big mistake. Okay, got my lethal tempo coming in. I got the ward of the bush. I would have had that kill if Nunu didn't steal it. That's okay. Didn't really matter. In hindsight, didn't really matter. But honestly, if you're the jungler, give it to the Ezreal. Have an even bigger advantage, and then you go leave, do whatever you want. You already took the red. You could honestly do whatever you want away from bot lane, and have bot lane just carry you to victory. So at this point, my ADC did leave. If you notice, my lethal tempo gets triggered just from poke. That's not bad because it allows me to auto attack the minions. I could still have enhanced attack speed against minions, and it's really nice. Like against Ashe, you could just W the minion wave. I could just lethal tempo the minion wave, right? It's actually super effective. Like, much more than people realize. If you take a look, I try my best to get my Qs in by baiting them a little bit. I kind of predicted that they would go all in, so I eat a little early. Ended up having to use my heal on Blitzcrank, falling a little bit behind here, which was surprising. Honestly, it was surprising to me. That was a good move on their part. They got the Yuumi sustain. We took a lot of damage. This is going to be rough. I thought, like, oh man, maybe we aren't so far ahead. Oh, Blitzcrank gets a grab and an ignite. I messed up on my positioning a little bit. It's okay. I got the flash in, so I could kill her before I get on the turret, and it worked. I was probably going to have to flash regardless, but I did mess up my positioning slightly. So I haven't even gone back yet. I'm 301, we're 300 gold, double the CS. Ashe just has a dagger and a biscuit. I'm only CSing because I can. Like, normally you'd want to go back and try to buy items and gain a lead. But this is a lot of CS I could get even more gold. And this is not a bad time to back, because this minion wave is so big and she's such a low level, it's gonna take her a while to eat through it, so it's probably not gonna be pushing under tower. And also, getting these minions is gonna be hard with this minion wave so big and the enemy champions being here. I probably would only get like 1 or 2 out of the 6, maybe 3 if I'm lucky. So I'm like, oh, might as well go now. I got enough to buy anyway. Guess what I bought? The BF sword and the sapphire crystal. That's ideal. That's like, obviously this was an early back, less than 5 minutes I went back, but ideal is BF sword and sapphire crystal first back. I even got a control ward of 2 potions, and I did it in 5 minutes. That's like optimal. Fortunately, my Q missed there. It really is unfortunate. That Q looked like it was gonna hit. Pause. Okay, at this point, what's going on here is I know they don't have vision here, and I know they don't know we're in this bush. And I'm trying to hide as far down this way as I can in case they do attack this bush. It's probably not going to hit me. Blitzcrank, on the other hand, is probably going to get hit. But typically when you're alone and you're in this bush, you want to go to this corner, because there's a very good chance that they're going to attack right here, like at this angle or something, and it's going to miss you. And then you're like, oh, well, he's not right there. Then you're like, oh, surprise, right? So they're actually making a big mistake by going this way. However, they could run this way and get away if we go in now. But I know they're going to come back down this way after warding up here. I just know it. So I wait even longer. Immediately, my Q did hit a minion there, and they did get the sustain, and they did damage me quite a bit, and he did miss his grab. But we got a Nunu coming in. Okay, at this point, I hit tab. I already know Mastery's a little bit fed that he's 101. I already know this. So I'm realizing, okay, I want to kill Mastery. I don't care about killing Yuumi and then Mastery. I care about kill Mastery. The reason you target Yuumi before Mastery is because 1, Yuumi could heal, and 2, Yuumi could get away. But by targeting the Mastery, by knowing the Mastery has the potential to carry the game and be the only one able to stop me because I'm so far ahead at the moment, I wanted to kill Mastery. The other reason I could focus the Mastery instead is because Mastery could kill my teammates. I almost saved Nunu, but not quite. I did try to focus all of my damage as fast as possible on the Mastery. That's why I E'd point blank onto him. Like, I'm not thinking about, oh, I gotta use my E to chase the Yuumi at this point. Just straight up outplaying him at this point. She didn't think she overextended, but she did. See, I have the red buff now, so I'm doing extra damage and healing. And I think I'm doing true damage to the turret too, so I'm able to get extra plating. Look how fast we got that first plating with the cannon and the red buff. And I do got my BF sword too, even though it's super early. And this thing's got a ton of armor. Okay, I didn't see them until later because I'm still trying to focus on getting this. I figured if Mastery comes, we could take care of Mastery. But guess what? He's a level 6 Malphite. This guy's got his ultimate. Actually, I assumed he had his ultimate. I shouldn't have assumed he had his ultimate, because I don't actually have another play, but I was assuming he had his ultimate, so I wanted to get away from him so he didn't ult me. On the other hand, he does have an Ezreal Druid blasting one, so running away from him is smart regardless. How does he have that much gold? I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Like, that's a lot of gold with 26 CS. I guess he got shutdowns on. No, he didn't get any shutdowns. He didn't kill Nunu, right? I don't know. I don't think Nunu was worth more than. Nunu doesn't have that much CS. 32 CS? Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't really make sense how you have a new large rod and blasting one. Like, he's not running Klepto or anything like that, right? No. I don't get it. Well, anyway, he's level 6. He's in my lane with Mastery. Ashe just came back. This is, like, very, very bad. There's a couple options I could do. I could focus the Mastery, knowing he has a red buff, and he's fucking strong. I could try to run away. Maybe, do I have flash up? No, I don't. I have heal, though. I know I'm worth 1,000 gold, too. So another option is trying to give the 1,000 gold to a specific person, aka not Master E. And the other option is going toward my teammate, Blitzcrank, who is pretty tanky, but not level 6, so I don't want to do that, okay? So what am I going to do right now? I do make a mistake. So Blitzcrank makes a mistake, first of all, by grabbing the person I was focusing and trying to kill. So my goal was to try to kill the Mastery before I died. He pulled him away. That's bad, because now I don't have anybody to kill. Now I'm dealing with a full health Ashe, a full health Yuumi, full health Malphite, all by myself. Mastery was the only one I could have dealt with and got a kill with. But, you know what? It's not worst case scenario, because guess what? I'm going to change plans. Plan B. Plan A didn't work because of that grab. Plan B I want to feed the 1,000 gold to a specific person. And that's either Ashe, Malphite, or Yuumi. And not Master E. So because you grab Master E, that's good. I can do that. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to die. I try to just alt Master E. I think I miss. Because I'm like panicking a little bit. Not panicking, but my camera's all fucked. Because he's slightly outside of my camera. I could either alt this person, or try to alt the Master E. If I hit Master E, that might have done a kill, I don't know. If not, Blitzcrank would have cleaned it up, and then Blitzcrank could have got away. Totally fine. I'm expecting Malphite to alt me across the wall, so I'm running this way. Even though maybe I should have not. I don't know. And it looks like, since I missed my ultimate, Blitzcrank dies. So, that was definitely not optimal choices, but it says I purchased Essence Reaver. I think I purchased Essence Reaver and then sold it, and then I'm looking at my other options. Yeah, I decided instead of going Essence Reaver to upgrade my boots and get a Sheen, because it is superior in PvP. It's going to give me the movement speed for offensive and defensive purposes. It's going to give me the Sheen for even more offensive purposes. I did miss my Q here. It's not a problem. Did miss another Q here. Not a problem. My auto attacks with the lethal tempo do a lot of damage. I'm not very reliant on my Qs. Now, if he ran this way, I could have killed him, but he didn't. So he gets away with a flash. As you can see, CSing is a cinch when you're building AD. Normally, Ezreal kind of struggles when you're just building like tier and stuff to CS. Like they just CS with their Q because they need to spam Q to charge their tier anyway. But I only use my Q when I need to use my Q, or when it just speeds up everything up. You see that damage output? Yeah, my red buff made me take turret aggro. See, the other thing I'm using Q for is reducing the cooldown on my W or even my E. Now, why do you think I ran away? Why do you think I ran this way if I'm like, oh, why are we not going to fight? It's because I'm trying to bait Ashe to move forward. Actually, I didn't know it was Ashe. Could have been Malphite. But I want to bait them to think I'm afraid. That's the only reason I did it. However, she wasn't baited, and she runs away. Because she has no minions. Yeah, that was a little unfortunate there. The Yuumi sustain was just so good that I couldn't actually finish off the Ashe without flashing. A little unfortunate. I should be spending my money on Essence Reaver at this point. So I got Thorn's Ring, the Sheen, Essence Reaver. These are all offensive things, and they're all for my mana as well. I don't need a build tier which is purely mana. Got my team getting even more plating. I was considering going down bottom because I could obviously solo Ashe. But I was also looking at the tower mid. I get an ult in. And then we get the tower. Meanwhile, Ashe gets a little bit of free CS and gets to push a bit. But I don't care. We got that turret. There's a Rift Herald up this way. I don't care. I want this turret. She did get a plating, it looks like. I don't care. I want this turret. But we got Rift Arrows. Yeah. Did she get more plating? No. So we lost one plating, one tower. Usually the team can deal with this stuff, but not always. Coming over here. Okay, now at this point I know there's a blast cone, and I can either trigger the blast cone before Mastery gets there, but I don't want to do that in case he flashes. So I'm just trying to avoid being in the blast cone while auto attacking him. But I didn't do it successfully because he ran that way instead of toward it. And then in case Malphite goes this way, I got the ult, but he got grabbed, so he went this way. Okay, well I don't need my ult then, I'll just EQ with autos. That's what you gotta do with your ultimate sometimes, is use it to prevent escape, or no, like you can hit two different directions. If you are one direction and the Q another direction, you're gonna be like, okay, well it's guaranteed to hit, right? Obviously, unless they flash or something like that. There's all kinds of different ways they could not get hit, but you don't have to fire everything in a straight line like you're a Lux. You're not a Lux, you're an ADC. Your abilities are there to complement your auto attacks. They're there to attack somebody when they're out of auto attack range. Going for another turret here. My teammate's pinging for me to help and stuff, but I'm like, dude, it's a free tower. If not now, then when with that tower, you know? I'm gonna get this ward. They spent 75 gold to give me that 30 gold. I get the crab. Pressing my lead. This Vladimir's level 11. This is crazy. I'm so far ahead, but Vladimir's even higher than me. See these crits coming in doing 216 damage. It's quite a lot, especially considering how fast my attack speed was, right? I got my Trinity Force now. I decided I was going Trinity Force earlier, which is why I went Dagger. I got a control ward because I couldn't actually afford what I wanted next. What I wanted next was a Cloak of Agility. See, one Q just takes out a minion by itself because I'm building AD. I got this Essence River, which is 70 AD. I got the Trinity Force, which is 37 AD. So I built over 107 AD. Bonus AD. I could have either finished that up or ran away, and I decided to run away. My E's coming off cooldown, which is why you max it second. That's why you max E second. See? I have 3 points in it. Only 1 in W. The attack speed is just helping significantly save time because I'm clearing those little camps, krugs and stuff. Like Trinity Force is so good with the Berserker's Greaves. Because you got built-in attack speed too with your, when you use abilities, it stacks up to 5 times, up to 50%. So you get your 50%, your 40%, and your 35% all coming together. You get your lethal tempo on top of that. It doesn't matter if you have 25% critical strike chance, you're going to be critting. So I did go back and buy Cloak of Agility and BF Sword. Ingredients toward my Infinity Edge. And I'm trying to farm up for an Infinity Edge. And at the same time I'm trying to place myself to take objectives. We already got this mid turret, we already got this upper turret, we got this lower turret to get now. Also, these Krugs apparently. I gave them to the lads, so I was like, yeah, why not? You can see that move a lot by me sometimes, where I E away and then R immediately. Because usually when I E away, the enemy gets like a one-track mine, like a reaction, like a disengage. And their disengage is predictable. We don't even have, oh no, we have Fiora TP. I want the red buff instead of farming with no mini wave. Taking out the ward. You ready for this? You see my ult? I ulted this way. This was a little bit of an accident, okay? I was thinking the fight might go that way because we're winning. Why is the fight going toward us? But apparently, my teammate was low. Anyway, if you take a look at my ultimate, I just killed both of them with it. I mean, I was thinking I would hit multiple people with my ultimate, but I wasn't thinking I'd get 2 kills with my ultimate right away. So here are the last 3 people. Oh, there's a triple kill. Man, I get rooted by the ultimate. And then the Diana's comboing me down pretty hard. That's okay. I got them both. My auto attacks, my lethal tempo. I don't even have my Infinity Edge. I'm missing some cues here. Because I'm like, I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm thinking about what I'm supposed to be doing next, macro-wise. My teammate's pinging me, but I'm like, dude. Inhib. The red buff healed me a lot. Like, I'm not running Legend Bloodline. That was all red buff. I don't have vision. I know if I ult here, it's going to give me the most vision because it's going to hit this bush. It's going to hit around this corner, and it's probably gonna hit right along the pathing along this way. So it's just ideal for vision and pathing if I stand here and alt. He moves back in, thinking I was gonna alt this way. So he's gonna dodge it. He runs right into it. I E before I W here, because if I W from all the way back here, I might have missed. WQ auto attack, and then my Q is gonna finish him off, but Mastery blocked it. If you take a look at what I did there, was I just tried to primarily kite so I didn't die, and then WE, which is gonna automatically target him with my E, and it's gonna proc the W. This is much. The other option is doing an E before the W, but I was counting the frames and the auto attacks that he was doing, and I know that I was able to do a WE pretty safely, so I wasn't risking anything by doing a WE. So that way the WE is actually better, because if I do E, he could sometimes like you Q, and then I miss my Q because he Q'd. And I could also miss my auto attack from his Q, so my auto attack isn't safe, and my Q isn't safe to reliably kill him. The best way to kill him is with a WE. That's gonna guarantee hit him, unless he Qs at the exact time I'm doing my WE. But I know I could have done it at that point without him dodging it, and very likely they wouldn't time it perfectly. Even if they had the means, they just wouldn't have the skill. So I could have went back after the Baron and bought a 2600 item, like a static shift or something like that. Instead I just bought 2 Zells. You know, got my Infinity Edge, 2 Zells. So I'm at 80% crit. Otherwise I would have went static shift and got 75% crit with extra bonuses, which would have been better. But guess what? Because I was focusing on macro as opposed to, oh man, I just want the game to revolve around me and my budget for getting this item. I decided, you know what? What's more important than that? Going back, letting my teammates do Baron, and then coming out here. So when my teammates finish Baron, I'm with them. Another good way, the WE combo is another good way to deal with Malphite. I think Malphite kind of struggles versus Ezreal, to be honest. See these auto attacks, how much damage they're doing? My last one did 477, and she has less than 400, so 378. So if this is a crit, she's dead. It didn't crit. I missed my Q. She ends up healing. Fiora flashes. Fiora dies. I was wanting Fiora to tank it for me. Fiora's not here to tank it for me anymore. All I have is that Q. I hit it. That was my final chance. I died. Man, if I missed that Q, that would have been really embarrassing. There's a continue button. Now if you take a look at this game, presence of mind was super useful. Alacrity finished very early. Cut time wasn't all that useful, but Transcendence was good, and Manifold Band did its job. And then Lethal Tempo, 2 minutes 20 seconds out of 22 minutes and 29 seconds. So 10% of the time I had my Lethal Tempo up. That's pretty good. I'm using it to farm minions, using it to farm champions. It's really good. Take a look at the graphs. Most damage in the game by far. 25,604. I was just dominating that. If you take a look at my other games with the same build, this one I went play the Rune King. I was working towards the Black Cleaver. 44,803 damage. I got out damaged by Lux. It was a defeat. Unfortunate. Even though I went 13, 8, and 5. This one, 8, 9, 17. Victory. A lot of assists. Like I'm telling you, if you go play the Rune King, you're going to get assists. Because of my assists, I didn't have... I was only 4th most damage. Here's another one, 9, 8, 13. Got to play the Rune King, got more assists than kills. 42,400, out damaged by Cat. Not a problem. Because I still did 42,400. Here's the other defeat. So I got a 60% win rate those 5 games. Was it 5? Or was it 4? I don't know. I think it was... I don't remember. And then we got this game. This is a defeat. Most damaging game though, 32,618. Teammates, very, very, very bad. So... this is how it works. Essence for your first item. Eventually you're gonna get S pluses like this.